In this video, I'll explain what an NFT is in detail. When we looked them up, they were quite difficult to grasp. So in this video, you'll learn what they are, why they're beneficial, and how the purchasing process works. Hello everyone and welcome to Wealthy Wisdom. In this video, we're going to talk about NFTs explained for beginners 2022. If you're new to this channel, do like and subscribe to the channel. A non-fungible token or NFT is a sort of digital token or asset. They are sometimes compared to digital trade cards or digital artwork. When you purchase an NFT, you are essentially purchasing the rights to that asset. The term non-fungible refers to the fact that it cannot be modified each time it is manufactured. It cannot be broken down and has no resemblance to anything else, including Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is equivalent to any other. So what about NFTs? They are always unique. They never look the same. In addition to a sign, you possess a limited amount of information. An NFT is a token that does not change over time. To be more exact, what is an NFT? In contrast, NFTs are just a bit of data connected with an address. Anyone who knows the password to that address has that data. This information may be bought and sold in a variety of ways. The information is authenticated on a blockchain, which allows you to check the owner's history. This is always traceable with NFT. The $600,000 CryptoKitty, for example, is just a short URL that correlates to an address. That individual only possesses a limited quantity of information. It is theoretically possible for whoever controls the server where the picture is generally stored to modify it. When purchasing an NFT, it is critical to understand exactly what you're getting. You're purchasing data that leads to a server that holds an image or GIF. You should be aware that both the image or GIF and the server may change. You actually own a particular bit of data on the blockchain, not access to the server, not a picture or a GIF, but a little piece of data that links to the server. Buying an NFT is similar to purchasing a stock in that you are purchasing a little piece of data that symbolizes something greater. You do not own the whole firm and will not get dividends unless it is a dividend stock. Another question you may have when entering the NFT market is, how do I acquire an NFT? Because purchasing an NFT is quite simple and provides about the same hurdles as purchasing corporate stock. You should now be aware that the bulk of NFTs are sold on NFT-specific marketplaces, which are comparable to those found on eBay, Amazon, and Facebook Marketplace. Because NFTs are often purchased using ETH, you'll almost certainly need to have some actual Ethereum on hand before you can purchase a CryptoKitty or an NBA Top Shot. This might be a benefit. Transferring cryptocurrency to an NFT wallet sometimes necessitates considerable technical knowledge since, if done incorrectly, you may lose all of your money in the transaction. The four most popular NFT exchanges for buying and selling NFTs are shown below. NiftyGateway.com, OpenSea.io, SuperRare.co, and App.Rarible.com are some examples. If you wish to buy an NFT, the first step is to create an account on that website. The second step is to buy Bitcoin on another exchange and then transfer it to your wallet. You should be aware that NFT wallets look exactly like any other cryptocurrency wallet. If you're looking for technical specifics, most of them are based on the ERC-721 protocols, but I promise not to go too technical in this video. They usually include both a public and a private key. Finally, you may submit a bid similar to an auction and pay for whatever it is you want to buy. What pushes you to buy an NFT? There are various variables, but for the time being, the main one driving the bulk of purchases is that investors see NFTs as collectors. Let's go through the four main reasons why an NFT is necessary. To begin with, the initial NFTs of specific founders or organizations will be valued, much as Bitcoin is well known as the original cryptocurrency. Pokemon trading cards, for example, are growing more popular with first edition cards commanding the highest prices. Assume you hold the first US bill, which has some perceived worth. The second component that adds value to an NFT is its usability, or the benefits it provides in today's society. Consider Elvis Presley, who would have sold 50 million records if he were still alive today. If you owned one of the shows in which he appeared, you could watch it forever. Because of their practical benefits, these NFTs would quickly acquire popularity and become rather expensive. Personally, I would only buy an NFT if it provided a real benefit. I expect that in the future, almost all NFTs will have this function. Creators will profit by selling NFTs in return for community membership, a weekly lunch meeting, or something similar. Consider the Mona Lisa as an example of an NFT prized because of its rarity or uniqueness. Although everyone has a reproduction of the Mona Lisa in their house, only one individual, or in this case, a museum, is permitted to show the genuine Leonardo da Vinci artwork for public viewing. The same way be said about a Babe Ruth autographed baseball or the original United States Constitution. They are unique. Even if they are only a representation of the universe, others may have the image but not the original generated by Stephen Hawking. Imagine if he just made 3 new ones. They'd be prohibitively pricey since there are only 3 originals. I realized that an NFT's worth is determined by its ownership history. For example, who is your favorite celebrity? Assume Robert Downey Jr., a personal favorite of mine, decides to sell his leather jacket and get a new one. As a result, he may have spent $200 on the leather jacket when he first got it, but now I may have to pay $800 just to buy Robert Downey Jr.'s version. The same is true for NFTs. A collector may be willing to pay $1 million for an image of Barack Obama's duck. By keeping these in mind, you should examine what an NFT actually provides to society. When determining the value of an NFT, consider it is the first of its type, has a practical application, is uncommon, and is held by a renowned person. Does spending $2.5 billion on Jack Dorsey's first tweet, for example, fall into any of these categories? Let's start at the top and work our way down. Is this your first time? Yes. Is it the first nonprofit organization of its kind? Is it of any assistance? No. You cannot edit a tweet or use it to advertise your company or anything similar. The third piece is unique. Finally, who has previously owned it? This is, in fact, a no. Yes, this is Jack Dorsey's first tweet, but no prominent person has yet held this NFT, hence, it does not belong in this category. For instance, if it was my tweet and PewDiePie purchased it, the answer would be yes. However, in this situation, it only meets 2 of the requirements, so if you purchase this initial tweet, you're essentially betting that someone else will want to buy it later for a greater price. Since keeping that NFT serves you no favor. It serves no purpose. You're purchasing it to have pleasure or to earn money. If Jack Dorsey promised the owner of the NFT that he'd have lunch with them once a month, the value would skyrocket. Here are the 11 most expensive NFTs. You may skip ahead if you do not want to listen to their ramblings. The next cryptocurrency is CryptoPunk 6965, which is sold for 800 Ethereum. Next is CryptoPunk 4156, which was sold on February 18, 2021 for 650 Ethereum. The third is CryptoPunk 2890, which was sold on January 24, 2021 for 605 Ethereum. The renowned Dragon CryptoKitty sold for 600 Ethereum. The CryptoPunk 6487, which fetched 550 Ethereum, was auctioned. Following that, we have around 12,600 square meters of land in the Decentraland globe. The sale price was 514 Ethereum. The following item is Hashmask 9939, which costs 420 Ethereum. This really intriguing automobile idea, the F1 Delta, was sold for 415 Ethereum. On February 19, 2021, another CryptoPunk sold for 400 Ethereum. a parcel of land in the Central Land World sold for 345 Ethereum and the renowned Nyan Cat sold for 300 Ethereum. A critical issue to ask about NFTs is whether or not your NFT can be replicated. Technically, an NFT may be duplicated just like any other piece of art, but since all NFTs maintain a record of their transaction history, the original NFT address can be traced back to its creator. It's also important to remember that someone may create a new NFT and connect it to the same hosting address as the original, or they could link it to a different URL that leads to the same image or GIF. The specific piece of information, not the image, is what makes an NFT important. LeBron James could shoot a free shot while 30,000 people are watching, just as I could make a free throw at my local YMCA, but one is far more valuable than the other. Even if I am doing the exact same action as LeBron, his free throws are far more valuable than mine. How do I buy an NFT? Is another question that may arise while entering the NFT market. Because buying an NFT is easy and has about the same level of difficulty as buying corporate stock. You should now be aware that most NFTs are sold on NFT-specific platforms comparable to eBay, Amazon, and Facebook Marketplace. In order to purchase a CryptoKitty or an NBA Top Shot, you will likely need to have some actual Ethereum on hand, given that NFTs are often obtained using Ethereum. This might be a detriment. Transferring Bitcoin to an NFT wallet often necessitates considerable technical know-how, as if done incorrectly, you might lose all of your funds. The 4 most popular NFT exchanges for buying and selling NFTs are shown below: UpRare.com, OpenSea.io, SuperRare.co, and NiftyGateway.com. Registering for an auction on a certain website is the first step in purchasing a non-fungible token. The second step is either buying cryptocurrencies on a different exchange or moving them to a wallet on that exchange. You should be aware that NFT wallets closely mimic every other kind of Bitcoin wallet. The majority of them are based on the ERC 721 protocols, but I promise to avoid getting too technical in this video. Typically, they include both a public and private key. Finally, you may submit bids similar to an auction and pay for the item you're attempting to get. Thank you for watching. I hope you have learned something from this video. If you like this video, do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Thank you and goodbye.